Counting double-digit thousands stacks.
Problems. Like, I'm just trying to work around all of these circumstances to bring this video to you and talk to you about the latest leaks on the iPhone 8. We are under 2 months from release. It's crazy to think about. We've been talking about this new design, this crazy revolutionary new iPhone for so long, and it's finally almost here, under 2 months to go. And that's according to Vania Geskin's prediction that the event will be held on September 17th with a release later on September 25th. So anyways, guys, I just wanted to say before I begin the iPhone leaks, I will be giving away 4 pairs of AirPods as promised from the 4th of July video at the end of this video. So stay tuned for that. In any case, let's go ahead and start on the iPhone 8. There are a lot of details, some good, some bad, that you will not like about this thing I'd like to talk to you about today. And starting with one not so good, an image shared by Leaks. So this is supposedly the iPhone 8. They didn't really give much info on it, but it is a machined or milled out iPhone 8 shell, and we can make out several things from it. For one, it's that ugly design we did not want. It's the lazy one, in my opinion, that Apple really was like, hey, this is our backup plan if the crazy all-out one doesn't work, so let's go ahead and use that one. Now, we can note that the back is made entirely up of aluminum, so wireless charging is probably not going to be a thing if they go with this design, unless they use some sort of version that goes through metal, which would be very inefficient. Also, there is a Touch ID sensor on the back, which is good. I don't care that it's on the back of the phone. The Google Pixel works with it quite well. I'm just very glad that Apple kept the Touch ID on the iPhone. So it's not going to be replaced by facial recognition, well, at least according to this leak in any case. Also, it's a very blocky design, and the flash unit itself from the camera is not inside of the lens, it's below it, which is better, I think, personally, because that way it would actually flash, possibly would refract into the lens and have some sort of glare there. So learning some curious things about this. Hopefully it is not this design. I'm really hoping this is not real, but who would go through all the effort to make a fake machined version? These things are expensive to make, believe it or not, like thousands and thousands of dollars to make the mold, to make it, even the piece to hold it, in any case, if you know anything about machining. So it'd be very difficult. There's no point of doing it. Why would they do it? Who knows? But I hope this isn't the real iPhone 8. Now, with just 2 months to spare before the release of the iPhone 8, Fast Company is reporting that Apple is in a panic regarding 2 software issues of the iPhone 8. They're saying that wireless charging and 3D facial recognition is just not syncing up, not working correctly, the software side of things. They say it is not a hardware issue, but making it communicate with the software side of things on the iPhone. So they're also confirming that Apple will likely not have wireless charging at launch. Later, just like John Gruber predicted, iOS 11.1 may unlock that wireless charging feature. But for now, wireless charging will just be advertised probably at the event. You just won't be able to get it. They're saying a source with knowledge of the situation says there is a panic in the air over at Apple. I mean, I would be panicking too if this product was supposed to be announced in 2 months and it's nowhere near software stability-wise being there. So hopefully they could figure that out, but really just imagine how difficult it is with just 2 months to go. And this has actually been brought up to me several times. I personally thought about it. What if, just this isn't a rumor or a leak or anything, this is just my personal thought. What if Apple this time around is deciding to control these leaks? You know, we've heard that they're clamping down on them, making the components harder and harder to leak from the factories. What if Apple is actually creating some of these rumors, some of these negative rumors that we don't like to hear about this bad design, just to keep expectations low? So that way when they come out with their crazy new display that wraps around, you know, all those things that we're saying now might not happen. What if all of the expectation, all that hype just goes way, way up because people weren't expecting it? You know, they're keeping expectations low, so when they release the product, people will just be dishing out money to get it. It's just a conspiracy theory here, but it's curious because Apple's really trying to get on top of all of these leaks. And what better way to do it than to manufacture your own fake ones? It's just a thought anyways. Ignore that if you want. Also from the same source, they did say that they're struggling with the 3D module camera that's going to be on the front of the phone, you know, to replace Touch ID entirely. That supposedly is still happening, and without confirming what that feature is for, they're saying that they're struggling with this one software-wise as well. I mean, imagine, it has to be more secure than Touch ID. Of course, they would be struggling with that feature. To get banks to replace Touch ID with this facial recognition system, it's going to have to be very secure, very accurate, and not easily faked like the Galaxy S8's version. So the very same source did actually comment what's going on with Touch ID right now. In my last two videos, we heard that Apple is going to be ditching that entirely in favor of facial recognition. And they're saying that Apple is still desperately trying to make it happen. It might not happen, but they are going to the end until deep summer, they're saying, to make it happen. But they only have a couple weeks left to see if that's a feasible thing to do. So they still want it to happen, to place the Touch ID underneath the display. It would be crazy. It would put the iPhone 8 above so many competitors. The awkward placement on the back wouldn't be an issue. It would be amazing. They're saying that it's still possible that Apple could add it. Even though we're right here where production is about to begin, they have 2 weeks left to figure out if it's going to be happening or not. Also from Fast Company, they're saying that the rear camera of the iPhone 8 will have a laser system embedded in it. So it will actually use laser autofocus, and using the same sensor it will use for AR capabilities. So Apple has been touting the whole augmented reality in iOS 11. They're building a big framework for it to enable future applications to use and all that. And they're going to be using an awesome new sensor to expand that capability. Now, the AR side of things is pretty cool, but personally, what I expect the most from this laser system is super sharp autofocus. Much like the Galaxies, they will be able to autofocus instantly from a subject far and near, especially when there's movement on the phone. It would help a lot. So lasers is the future for focus, and Fast Company thinks the iPhone will be getting it later this year. So we keep hearing about how Apple is going to be delaying the launch of the iPhone to November, October, far into the end of the year. But now a JP Morgan analyst is saying that Apple will still be launching the iPhone in September, but in very limited quantities. So not only limited quantities, a limited quantity, smaller than they expected earlier. They actually had an estimate before that there would be 9 million iPhone 8 units. Now that's shrunk to 2 million. Now they're saying there's a huge issue with manufacturing, with the Touch ID issue, with wireless charging, with the display, with making this crazy new design happen. So there's going to be such a small amount of iPhones that it will be literally going for double, I think. Scalpers market, for real. I hate it. The reality is, though, if you want an iPhone early, the iPhone 8 later this year, you're probably going to have to pay near double. And just to give you a little perspective on how far behind Apple is on the manufacturing of the iPhone 8, they're actually leasing equipment to many companies. They're building tens of millions of dollars worth of equipment, giving it to these companies that have very little experience in making parts for the iPhone just to get it made. Now, the issue is the flexible printed circuit boards for the iPhone 8. Because Apple is going to be using the stacked logic board to make room for the huge L-shaped battery inside of the iPhone 8, it's going to be an issue making them. So they want to give these tools to as many companies as possible to ensure that we get some sort of stock at the beginning. Also from this JP Morgan analyst, he's saying that the iPhone 8 will be priced at a reasonable $1,100. So we started from about $1,000 earlier in this year. We went up to $1,500. Now this analyst is saying about $1,100. He says it's a very important pricing strategy that Apple prices it above the iPhone 7s and the rest of the lineup, because this iPhone, he says, is going to be refreshed only every 2 years. I haven't heard that anywhere before. It's kind of curious. So you're going to be paying more for an iPhone, but it will last longer. Apple will officially support it as the flagship for 2 years. So we might not see a refresh for the iPhone 8 until 2 years from now. And it might not even be called the iPhone 8. There's a lot of talk recently about it being called the iPhone Pro. So JP Morgan analysts, also John Gruber from Daring Fireball, they're both calling this thing the iPhone Pro. And with Apple's recent naming scheme, the MacBook Pro, the iPad Pro, the Pro side of things, it certainly makes sense that they would call this thing the iPhone Pro, or as we've heard earlier, the iPhone Edition. So although the naming isn't perfectly clear, it will be the Pro category of the iPhone. And looking forward, so next year for the iPhone, whatever it'll be, TSMC will be the sole producer of the A-series chips for Apple. When I first heard about this rumor, I thought Apple was handing over the development of these chips entirely to TSMC, and I was like, no, Apple, you're so miraculous with these chips, how much power you can get out of them. But no, instead of splitting the manufacturing between Samsung and TSMC, TSMC is going to be handling it entirely. And I also thought I'd share something really interesting with you. So there is a patent that was filed by Apple just very recently here for the AirPods 2, for an in-ear headphone that can distinguish between certain sounds. So it can filter maybe some sort of road noise, but allowing a simple conversation, someone next to you, to happen, which is really interesting. This technology does exist today in many areas, so I think that would be really cool to see in the AirPods Generation 2, plus I don't know what sort of features we can have with it. They're already everything I could ever possibly want. Maybe a little bit more bass, a little bit more thump from them, but the current AirPods are pretty amazing. So Guys, there it is as far as the iPhone stuff. I wanted to mention the Samsung Galaxy Note 8 is going to be happening on August 23rd, and some leaked renders showing the design of this thing. It's going to be a little bit more blocky than the Galaxy S8, but it will in a way directly compete with the iPhone 8. Even though it's going to be massively bigger, it will be a Pro series phone from the Samsung Galaxy series. So I cannot wait to compare those in the future, but there it is, guys. Everything we know right now. Let's go ahead and get to the giveaway. I want to choose 4 winners to receive AirPods. Otherwise, thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned for many more videos, and hopefully I can fix my setup up here before I get to making more videos.